welcome back to the deep dive.
Oh,
Okay, so you sent us this fascinating stack of sources on what feels like a huge shift in technology.
absolutely. We're talking about the fusion of mind and machine.
Right. Today, we're taking the shortcut, really digging into how we might control the digital world using, well, nothing but our thoughts.
We are diving deep into brain-computer interfaces, or BCIs. You might also hear them called BMIs, brain-machine interfaces.
Same idea, different name.
Pretty much. This field is moving so incredibly fast. So our mission today really is to give you a solid foundation.
A shortcut to understanding it all.
Exactly. We'll cover the science basics, look at the different kinds of tech involved, and importantly, flag some of the ethical tripwires. The goal is you walk away feeling informed about this coming neurodigital age.
Because the core idea, it's pretty wild, isn't it? A BCI system connects your brain directly to a device.
Yeah, directly. Let's say the ultimate aim is to bypass the body's usual pathways, forget nerves and muscles, think brain to computer, straight shot. And companies like Neuralink, they're not just talking about helping people, their vision is much bigger. They're aiming for this fully integrated system, a symbiosis between human brains and AI.
Okay, let's unpack this properly. Thought control, it sounds like science fiction. If I just think about moving a cursor, how does that happen? How does that little electrical flicker in my head actually make something move on a screen?
Well, it starts with how the brain talks to itself, essentially. You've got something like 86 billion neurons in there. Billions.
Mind-boggling number.
It really is. And they communicate using these tiny electrical impulses, little voltage changes. So when you think or plan a movement or even remember something, it creates a specific pattern of electrical activity. And crucially, we can measure that pattern.
So the BCI is like an interpreter. It listens to those patterns and translates them.
That's a good way to put it. It intercepts and translates. But it's not just one step. It's more like a four-step process to get from that, messy brain signal to a clean command a computer can understand.
Okay, walk us through it. Step one.
Step one is signal acquisition. That's the listening part. Electrodes have to detect that neural activity. These could be sensors you wear on your head, like an EEG cap, or they could be tiny microelectrodes actually implanted in the brain.
Right, the eavesdropping phase, as you called it. So listening in. What's next?
Step two, signal processing. Raw brain signals are noisy. I mean, really noisy. There's loads of background chatter, so the system has to filter out the noise, amplify the important bits, and isolate the specific pattern linked to what you intended to do.
Makes sense. Cleaning up the signal. And then the really clever part.
Step three, feature translation or decoding. This is where AI and machine learning really shine. These algorithms take those cleaned up neural patterns and translate them into actual commands. Move cursor up, select this letter, start grasping. They figure out the meaning behind the pattern.
Got it. So acquire, process, translate. What's the final step?
Step four is pretty straightforward. Device output. The command gets sent to the computer, the robotic arm, whatever the external device is. But there's a critical piece here the sources really emphasize: feedback.
Feedback. Why is that so vital?
Because without it, you can't really learn to control the BCI effectively. Imagine trying to learn to type without seeing the letters appear on the screen.
Ah, right. Impossible.
Exactly. You need that immediate feedback, visual, maybe sound, maybe even a feeling like a vibration, to know if the BCI understood you correctly. It lets your brain adjust its signals, refine the control until it feels, well, almost natural. It's what makes it feel like an extension of yourself, not just a clumsy tool.
That difference, clumsy tool versus seamless extension, seems to hinge a lot on the hardware, doesn't it? You mentioned external caps versus implants.
Yeah.
Why take the risk of surgery? What's the big trade-off?
It really boils down to signal quality, or what engineers often call bandwidth. Higher bandwidth means more information, more precise control. And basically, the choice of BCI tech is this constant balancing act. Risk versus reward, focused on getting the best signal possible.
So you categorize them based on how invasive they are.
Yes, there are three main types. The deeper you go into the head, generally, the clearer the signal you get, but obviously, the risks go up too.
Okay, let's start with the deep end then. The highest risk, highest reward.
Those are the invasive BCIs. They require actual brain surgery to place electrodes directly into the brain tissue. Things like the Utah array or the flexible threads Neuralink uses.
Directly in the brain.
Directly in. The advantage is amazing signal clarity because you're right next to the neurons firing. But the downsides are significant. Risk of infection, inflammation, brain tissue potentially scarring. plus the inherent risks of any brain surgery.
Okay, so if the risks are that high, why aren't we just using the external ones? The EEG caps you mentioned, why haven't they gotten good enough?
It's physics, really. Non-invasive BCIs, the ones using external sensors on your scalp, are super safe and easy to put on. No surgery. But your skull, your skin, all that tissue, it acts like a muffler. It dampens and smears the electrical signals quite a lot.
So the signal gets weak and fuzzy.
Exactly. You lose a ton of precision, that high bandwidth we talked about. So they're mostly used for simpler things like neurofeedback training or maybe some basic game control. Think of it like trying to listen to a whisper through a thick wall versus having a microphone right next to the person speaking.
That's a really clear analogy. Okay, so there's fully invasive and non-invasive through the skull. What's the third type? The middle ground.
Right. The partially invasive BCIs, sometimes called semi-invasive.
Yeah.
Here, electrodes are placed inside the skull, so they get past that thick bone barrier, but they rest on the surface of the brain, maybe on the duramater, that protective membrane. They don't actually penetrate the brain tissue itself.
So better signal than the outside caps, but less risky than going deep into the brain.
That's the idea. A better signal than non-invasive, with lower surgical risks than fully invasive. Researchers are always trying to tweak this approach, finding that sweet spot between signal quality and safety.
Okay, we've covered the how and the what, the different types of tech. Now let's get to the so what moment. Why all this effort? Why are billions being poured into this? Where are BCIs making a real difference right now?
The most immediate and I think the most profound impact is in medicine, restoring function that's been lost.
Like helping people move again.
Exactly. BCIs are allowing people with paralysis to control advanced robotic limbs just by thinking. Or sometimes they can even use BCIs to stimulate their own muscles, bypassing the spinal cord injury. That's called FES, functional electrical stimulation.
There was a specific example in the sources that really stuck with me.
The thought-controlled robotic arm. Yeah, it's a powerful image. Someone with quadriplegia, unable to move below the neck, using their thoughts to guide a robotic arm to pick up a cup, take a drink, feed themselves. Maybe even shake someone's hand. That's a huge deal for independence.
A massive return of autonomy, absolutely. And it's not just movement, right? Communication, too.
Definitely. For people who are locked in, maybe due to ALS or stroke who can't speak or move, BCIs can be a lifeline. They can translate neural activity directly into text on a screen, letting them communicate again.
That's incredible. And the prosthetics are getting smarter, too. It's not just about moving them.
Right, it's becoming a two-way street. The really advanced neuroprosthetics aren't just about sending commands out, move the hand. They're also working on sending sensory information back to the brain.
Like the feeling of touch.
Exactly. So the artificial limb starts to feel less like a tool and more like a real part of the body. That makes control much more intuitive and effective.
Beyond restoring physical function, are there therapeutic uses? Can BCIs actually, regulate the brain?
Yes, that's another big area in neurotherapy. BCIs can be used to monitor brain activity, identify abnormal patterns associated with conditions like severe depression, PTSD, or epilepsy, and then help the person learn to regulate those patterns.
Interesting.
And related to that is deep brain stimulation, or DBS. It's not strictly a BCI in the reading thought sense, but it involves implanted electrodes delivering targeted electrical pulses to specific brain areas to treat neurological disorders like Parkinson's. It shows how intervening electrically in the brain can have therapeutic effects.
Okay, so that covers the medical and therapeutic side. But a lot of the buzz, especially around companies like Neuralink, seems to be about, upgrading humans.
Yeah.
Augmentation.
That's definitely the frontier. And yeah, it's a huge driver for investment. We're talking about changing how we interact with technology fundamentally. Imagine typing an email, searching the web, or playing a complex video game just by thinking about it.
Hands-free computing taken to the extreme.
Totally. And you see interest from places like the military and space agencies, DARPA, NASA. They're looking into BCIs for controlling drones, robots, complex vehicles in situations where hands might be busy or speed is critical.
Which brings us to that really long-term, almost science fiction vision. Augmented intelligence.
That's the term often used, yes. It's the idea of merging human intelligence directly with AI. People like Elon Musk have explicitly talked about this. The idea that for humans to keep pace with potentially super intelligent AI, we might need a high bandwidth connection to it.
The symbiotic link, as they put it.
Right. The BCI becomes the way to potentially expand our own memory, speed up learning, maybe even enhance creativity by directly interfacing with AI capabilities. That's the really, really ambitious end goal for some.
Speaking of ambitious, let's zoom in on Neuralink, founded 2016. They seem to be the ones capturing most of the headlines right now. What's special about their approach technologically?
A big part of it is the hardware itself. They focused on making the implants much less invasive and much higher resolution than older technologies. They used these incredibly thin, flexible threads instead of rigid electrode spikes.
Thinner than a human hair, right?
Something like that, yeah. And these threads have thousands of electrode contact points. This whole array connects to a small chip, the link, which sits in a small hole drilled in the skull, and it transmits the brain data wirelessly. The design aims for high bandwidth, minimal damage, and long-term use.
And they hit a major milestone recently in 2024.
They did, their first human trial. They reported that a paralyzed patient successfully used the Neuralink implant to control a computer cursor with their thoughts, playing games, moving it around the screen.
Just by thinking.
Just by thinking. That was a huge proof of concept for their specific technology. It showed the high bandwidth wireless implant could actually work for functional control in a person.
And cursor control is just the start for them, isn't it? They're talking about restoring sight, full mobility, even brain-to-brain communication eventually.
Yeah. Their stated goals are definitely vast. Restoring motor function, vision, hearing, and yes, eventually maybe even more radical concepts like direct thought transfer. The fact that the tech is now demonstrably working at this level, even for cursor control, really ramps up the conversation about the implications.
It really does. If this technology becomes more widespread, what are the big hurdles, the challenges we need to think about, beyond just making it work better?
Oh, the challenges definitely shift from purely technical to deeply societal and ethical ones. First, you still have the practical risks of implants, even with better tech. Infection, inflammation, tissue reaction over time, these are still concerns.
And cost.
Absolutely. Accessibility is a huge one. Right now, this is cutting-edge, expensive stuff. If advanced BCIs remain only affordable for the wealthy, you risk creating a massive divide, a neurodigital divide, where some people have vastly enhanced cognitive or physical abilities and others don't. That's a recipe for serious inequality.
And then there's the data. We're talking about brain data.
Exactly. This isn't like tracking your clicks or your location. This is potentially reading your intentions, your thoughts, before you even act on them. It's probably the most personal, most sensitive data imaginable.
So who owns that data? Who protects it? Our current privacy laws don't seem equipped for this.
They really aren't. We're recording pre-conscious neural activity. Think about that. It's not just what you did, but the neural correlates of why you were about to do it. We urgently need new frameworks, new legal definitions to handle the privacy and ownership of thought data as these things move towards commercial products.
That level of access, it naturally leads to fears about security.
All right.
Hacking the brain.
It's a major concern. Could someone intercept your brain signals? Could they manipulate the signals being sent to your brain if you have a device for stimulation or feedback? Imagine someone hacking your prosthetic control, or, even scarier, influencing mood or thought via a therapeutic device. Security for BCIs has to be absolutely watertight.
It changes how you think about identity too, doesn't it?
Fundamentally, when a machine is linked that intimately to your brain, processing your thoughts, maybe even feeding information back in, it forces us to ask really deep questions about control, agency, and where the self begins and ends.
Which cracks open that whole philosophical debate.
Yeah, should we even be doing this? Should humans merge with machines? As these interfaces get smoother, more integrated, what does it mean to be human? If my memory is stored digitally, if my learning is AI augmented, am I still me? Who's really in charge?
These are huge questions.
Yeah.
But stepping back from the philosophy for a second, the pace of the actual science is just incredible.
It really is. Every year, it seems, we see improvements. Better implant materials that are more biocompatible, more flexible, wireless tech getting smaller and more powerful. And crucially, the AI algorithms doing the decoding are getting smarter and faster all the time.
So thoughts are quite literally starting to shape reality outside our heads.
Verifiably, yes. We're moving beyond BCI as just a medical fix. It's heading towards potentially being consumer tech, changing everyday interaction.
And the future vision from the sources. It's pretty stunning. Typing or searching the web just by thinking. Maybe even perfect recall of memories. It feels like we're right on the cusp.
We are absolutely entering what you could call the neurodigital age. That bridge between our biology and our digital technology is being built right now, and it's going to redefine human capability.
Maybe we should end with that quote from Elon Musk you pulled from the sources. It really captures the magnitude.
Right. He said, The future of humanity will be shaped by the bandwidth between our brains and our technology. It puts that connection front and center.
Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive. We hope you feel much more informed now about this world-changing technology.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in, but incredibly important.
And maybe something to leave you thinking about. If we could perfectly store and recall every memory flawlessly, how would that change things? Our sense of self, how we learn from mistakes, even how we value experiences. Definitely something profound to mull over. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.